You don't raise your voice. You notice when the room shifts. You sense tension before it becomes visible. You apologize quickly, even when you're not sure you did anything wrong. And people call you kind. But what they don't see is the cost. Because being kind has never felt like a choice to you. It feels like an obligation, a reflex, a quiet contract you signed long before you understood what it meant. You learned early that harmony equals safety, that being easy to be around keeps you included, that your value lies in how little trouble you cause. So you became gentle, accommodating, emotionally fluent, and it worked. Kept you connected, kept conflict away, kept you needed. But here's the paradox, the one no one talks about. The very trait that once protected you is now the reason you're exploited. Your kindness, your patience, your willingness to understand others. It has quietly trained people to take more than they give, to cross boundaries you never announced, to lean on your empathy while ignoring your limits. And what hurts the most isn't the manipulation itself. It's that part of you that knows it's happening and still struggles to stop it, because somewhere deep inside, kindness is still wired to survival. To understand why kind people are manipulated the most, we need to reframe kindness, not as a personality trait, but as a nervous system strategy. This archetype often begins with relational conditioning. When a child grows up in an environment where love is inconsistent, conditional, or emotionally unpredictable, they learn something subtle but powerful. I stay safe by staying agreeable. This leads to hypervigilance, a state where the nervous system is constantly scanning for emotional shifts. You become skilled at reading tone, facial expressions, silence. You don't wait for conflict, you preempt it. Over time, this hypervigilance pairs with fawn response, a trauma response identified alongside fight, flight, and freeze. Fawning means appeasing others to avoid threat. Kindness becomes camouflage. Neurologically, this reshapes the brain's default mode network, the system responsible for self-referential thought. Instead of asking, "What do I need?" the mind constantly asks, "Are they okay? Did I upset them? How can I smooth this over?" Your internal spotlight points outward. Now add moral over-identification, the belief that being good means being self-sacrificing. You don't just want to be kind, you want to be harmless. Manipulative personalities, consciously or unconsciously, sense this immediately, because power dynamics are not about strength. They're about who feels allowed to say no. The deepest cost of this archetype is not exhaustion. It's invisible grief. Grief for the self you never fully expressed, the anger you swallowed, the boundaries you felt but never voiced. Carl Jung once said, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely." For kind people shaped by survival, self-acceptance feels dangerous, because authenticity once risked abandonment. So you made a trade, belonging over truth, peace over power, being liked over being real. And it worked externally, but internally it created a fracture. You become someone who understands everyone, while feeling profoundly misunderstood. Simple moments grow heavy. A delayed text becomes a spiral. A small disagreement feels like a moral failure. Rest feels undeserved unless you've earned it through usefulness. The core fear isn't conflict, it's disconnection. The fear that if you stop giving, people will stop choosing you. So you give preemptively, relentlessly, quietly, and the world rewards you with dependence, not reciprocity. These patterns don't disappear in adulthood. They evolve. You might recognize yourself here. In relationships, you attract partners who take more than they give. You explain away red flags. You confuse emotional labor with love. At work, you become indispensable but underpaid, reliable but overlooked. You do more, hoping effort will turn into respect. With boundaries, you feel guilt when you say no, even politely. You over-explain your limits. You negotiate with people who never negotiate with you. Internally, you gaslight your own pain. It's not that bad. They didn't mean it. Others have it worse. In conflict, you apologize to end tension, not because you're wrong. Peace becomes more important than truth. In identity, you call this just how I am. But these are coping strategies, not personality traits. The turning point isn't confrontation. It's witnessing, seeing the pattern without shaming yourself, naming it without justifying it, understanding that your kindness was learned under pressure. Unlearning begins when you stop asking, "How do I fix this?" and start asking, "What did this protect me from?" Healing does not mean becoming cold. It does not mean losing empathy. It does not mean turning into what hurt you. It means reclaiming choice. This work often begins with inner child reparenting, meeting the part of you that learned kindness as survival and offering it safety without performance. It deepens through shadow work, integrating the anger, assertiveness, and self-interest you were taught to suppress. And it matures into something powerful, boundaried compassion. You learn that kindness without limits is self-erasure, that empathy without self-respect invites exploitation, that saying no is not cruelty, it is clarity. As philosopher Hannah Arendt suggested, power emerges not from domination, but from self-possession. The goal was never to be fixed. You were never broken. The goal is wholeness, where kindness flows from strength, not fear, where generosity is a gift, not a debt, where you no longer shrink to be safe. Your kindness was never the problem. The absence of protection around it was. If this resonated, it's because part of you is already waking up, already choosing truth over conditioning, already remembering that you deserve relationships where care moves both ways. And that awareness, quiet, steady, uncompromising, is where real power begins.